Good afternoon. I want to thank the committee for allowing me to speak today. Um, I'm going to speak on what led up to me having a TAVR. At my age, one has had many life experiences. I'm the oldest of four children, a wife of 56 years, mother to two wonderful daughters, grandmother to two brilliant grandsons, both of whom are computer engineers, and a beautiful forever 14 granddaughter. My life was very full. I spent a lot of time with my grandchildren and children. I would babysit, attend their activities, go on trips together, and celebrate holidays and birthdays. I've worn many hats in my lifetime. I've worked as a nurse's aide, an activities director in two care centers, piano and voice teacher, pastor's wife, church organist and pianist, EMT, and a paramedic. I've been a Sunday school teacher, Girl Scout leader, and on the council board, accompanist for school plays, concerts, and contests, director of church programs, some of which I wrote, and counselor and speaker at summer camps and various other youth organizations. I've always considered myself to be a giver. If anyone needed anything, I was the person to call on. In 2002, I began a career as a paramedic. One night, my preceptor and I delivered a patient to the Essentia ER. While we were there, Beth Ashmore asked him if there was anyone in the class that I was in that he would recommend to work in the ER. He said me, which was a surprise. Beth interviewed me and offered me a full-time position. Except for being a pastor's wife, it was the most fulfilling job I've ever had. I worked there for 10 years. On March 3rd, 2012, I worked my normal 12-hour night shift, went home to sleep, and planned to return the next night. I got up, showered, and dressed for work, tried to walk to my garage, and was completely out of breath. I called in and said, "I'm not coming to work tonight." Of course, I didn't go to the ER because I'm a paramedic and I'm going to be fine. So, with my husband's, the shortness of breath and the weakness that followed did not go away. With my husband's encouragement, when I couldn't walk the flight of stairs up to our apartment, I did finally go to the emergency room and thus began a long progression of 2 hospitalizations, doctor's visits, testing, etc. I saw pulmonologists, cardiologists, neurologists, endocrinologists, ENTs, and countless other primary physicians. I had every test imaginable. We made 3 trips to Mayo with still no answers. The ENT did find that my trachea was in the shape of a D rather than an O, and that my thyroid was growing around it and squeezing the air off. So he removed my thyroid, and the shortness of breath went away for a little while, but then it came back. Other than that, the only thing that anyone could agree on was I had a heart murmur. Some days it felt as if the physicians were throwing darts at the wall just to see what would happen. One of the things that they all said was, we know there's something wrong, but we can't find it. A neurologist told me, just hang in there. Sometimes it takes years for that one symptom to show up before we can do anything. I had a nurse that I respected a lot who said to me, my father had this similar symptoms to what you have. They finally found out that he needed an aortic valve replacement, and after that, he was fine. I stuck that in the back of my mind. Meanwhile, I was getting more short of breath, weaker, more fatigued, unable to walk any distance at all, and having to depend more and more on my friends and family to assist me with my day-to-day activities. Even mundane tasks like loading the dishwasher and dusting were very difficult. I did not drive anymore because I was never sure when I would have one of my waves of weakness, or if when I got to my destination, I would be able to get from the garage to from the parking area to the building that I was going to. My husband would have to take off work to get me to and from my appointments. When I was the most fatigued, life still continued around me. Sometimes I was there, but most times, I was a spectator. I felt our granddaughter, a freshman in high school, contracted a rare blood disease. After 55 days in the hospital, she got her wings in 2017. Both of our grandsons graduated from high school, One graduated from college, and the youngest is a senior in college. It was inevitable. My brother passed away, and I was able to fly to Nebraska for his funeral, but I had to be assisted wherever I went. Again, I was a spectator. We celebrated our 50th wedding anniversary and we enjoyed it, but I felt exhausted and again as a spectator. I needed a wheelchair for sightseeing in our Hawaii trip, a trip we took in honor of our granddaughter. Again, I was there as a spectator. In the first half of 2020, there was a lull in the number of appointments I had because it didn't seem like there was anything else that could be done. During that time period, it felt as if I were getting weaker and more fatigued. Some days it was an effort just to get from the recliner to the dining room, a distance of approximately 10 feet. My wonderful husband did most of the housework. In June of 2020, I was scheduled for an annual checkup with Dr. Capon in cardiology. I went the day before to have an echo. The technician took longer than normal to outline the waves. The day that my appointment was, I was feeling a little stronger, so I drove myself. When I arrived, the first thing Dr. Capon said to me was, "You have severe aortic stenosis." I think she was expecting me to break down, but inside I was doing a fist pump and saying, "Yes." This felt like what I had been waiting for. It made sense to me, and like it was an answer to my prayers. Before I even left her office, the nurses and others were setting up appointments with Dr. Sarav and Dr. Wright. The one time I felt strong enough to go to an appointment by myself is when I needed my husband. So I went to where he was working. We talked about the future and what all this meant. We were both so hopeful that this was the answer we were looking for. At the consultation with Dr. Sarav and Dr. Wright, they both agreed that the valve could not have been the cause of 8 years of symptoms, but we were still holding out hope that this would make me better. Dr. Sarav explained the TAVR procedure, and Dr. Wright explained the open heart surgery. We chose the TAVR because of the shortness of the recovery time. After the test to measure the vessels, etc., to be certain everything would work, a date was set for surgery. 5 days before surgery, a COVID test was required. I tested positive. My husband brought it home from work. He shares a lot. Surgery was rescheduled for 3 weeks later. The day finally arrived. On September 21st, 2020, my husband and I walked into Essentia Health for surgery, expecting to be made new. Surgery went well. I had no problems with recovery. I went for walks further than I could walk at home and was ready to be discharged on the second day. Everything began to get better, no shortness of breath, getting stronger in everything I did. Walking wasn't a problem. I don't know if the valve was the problem from 2012 to 2020, but I do know that after the valve was replaced, I was better. I've been attending cardiac rehab since October 2020, and it has been a great benefit to me. I can walk a mile on the treadmill with no problem. I drive again, can fix meals and clean up afterwards, do laundry, and pretty much everything I could do before. Music has always played a big part in my life. When I was 5, I started piano lessons and I continued until I was in college. It was inevitable that one day I would have students of my own. One of my favorite students excelled to the point of taking my place as her church pianist and accompanist for her high school choir. Jessica got married this fall, and she asked me to play for her wedding. I had not had the energy to play the piano for several years, so I had to practice a lot. I was strong enough to drive myself to meet her and her mother to choose music, meet with the soloist, and attend the rehearsal and dinner. The wedding was at a beautiful lake. I would not have been able to even go to the wedding before my surgery because there was a lot of walking and we were there for 10 hours. I was able to provide the music, visit with friends, have dinner, and enjoy the entertainment. I was no longer a spectator. I was living in the moment. I had COVID this January. My husband brought it home from work again. As I was going through it, I felt that fatigue once more. It wasn't as severe, but it made me remember the before. It was difficult for me to believe how far I've come from that. I have so much to be thankful for. I feel like I'm back to normal. I grew up in church, loving God. I gave my life to Him and always tried to be a witness for Him and do what He asked of me. Because of my faith in Him, I often prayed about my situation. I also had friends and family who were praying for me. I believed God could miraculously heal me, but this time He chose doctors to heal me. I believe that God placed Dr. Sarov at Essentia Health for me. I feel like God have reaffirmed to me that He is always there guiding and directing my life. I'm so thankful for everyone who helped me along my journey. I don't know if it's because I had worked at Essentia Health or and I knew many of the staff and nurses, or if it's just the Essentia way. But I could not have asked for better treatment. The doctors, nurses, and staff at the treat their patients like family. I would like to think that they treat everyone the Essentia way. At Essentia Health, you are family.
Thank you, Carol, for sharing your beautiful story. So now we have a 15-minute break where people can do some networking, perhaps ask some of the speakers additional questions and share comments. Also, at the registration table, we have some raffle items and some swag items for purchase as well. So if you could please return at 20 after, that would be great, and we'll go ahead and continue with the program. Thank you.
Take a leap with